Welcome back, internet friend. We're gonna do this. We're gonna finally face Kain in this here final episode of my Let's Play of Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. So, first thing we're gonna do is see what the Elder God has to say.
In the furthermost canyon of Nosgoth's frozen wastes, the hushed silences embrace an ancient enigma. In the bowels of this labyrinth, your master awaits.
Alright, so just like he said last time as we were leaving Dumas' territory, we gotta go a little bit further to get to where Kain is hiding out. But before we go there, I think we should talk to Ariel as well. So here we go. Let's see what good old Ariel has to say.
In the bowels of an inverted clockwork, the tormentor awaits. Be wary, Raziel. Those blind with rage are by destiny ensnared.
Just a friendly warning about not getting too emotional about what's to come. Just one last look around. So here we are, heading to the last area of the game. Of course, this wasn't originally going to be the last area of the game, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it is indeed the last area of this version of the game. The version of the game we got. It's nice to have the flame power to catch these guys off guard. Okay, so this is it. We're at a dead end. We gotta figure out how to get out of here. Here's a kind of a useless sundial. And we're actually going to be going into the Chamber of Mobius the Time Streamer. And of course sundials are connected to time. Oh, come on. You can see this symbol here. Strange. We're going to see a lot of odd symbols in this chamber, and I don't know the meaning of all of them. Some of them may just be gibberish, but I'll try to point out the ones that at least look like they mean something. Very creepy in here, bathed in firelight. Alright, another really great music track in a game full of great musical tracks. I just barely saw that guy. Worried since I didn't eat that guy's soul, he's gonna come back. First, let's get another fast travel point, shall we? Not that we're gonna need it, but it's nice to have. Okay, so we got a door that we seemingly cannot open, and we got a crack in the wall. Let's see if we can make that crack just a little bit bigger. Ah, very yonic. Closed it off. Trying to unlock that door there. We're going to be talking about some of these cave paintings here because for the first time in the game, it is seemingly possible to connect these cave paintings to things that come up in later games. But first, let's get this opened up here. So, we have angelic figures on this side, and seemingly lizard men on this side. Now, in later games, you're going to see a lot more. We will, if we end up doing Let's Plays of them, I don't know. You do end up seeing a lot more cave paintings very similar to these. And again, it's very hard to say whether or not this was all planned out, but these just look unmistakably like the angelic vampires that you come across later on. And over here, these guys look very much like they're basically rivals for the world of ancient Nosgoth, the Hilden. If you don't know anything about this series, that's probably not going to mean anything to you, but considering we are in we are going into the Time Streamer's chambers, it's very likely that he knew all about the history involved here, and that would explain why these cave paintings are here. So we are trying to open up this door, and as you can see, it's got a very peculiar symbol on it. It almost looks like an O and a Z. Over here we have said O. And over here is the Z. So stands to reason that we need to get a block in here and a block in there. So let's see what we can do. Well, pulling that out, just lifted that up. So let's try to pull out this one. And that closes the other side. But you know what? I think I know what to do here. Now in Blood Omen, the first Legacy of Kain game, on your way to, I don't want to say, basically you're going to visit the Oracle in Blood Omen, and you are not aware of the fact that the Oracle is in fact one of the Pillar Guardians that you're supposed to kill. But on your way there, you encounter artifacts from the past and present and future. We won't be seeing any of those artifacts here, but it is pretty telling that we're seeing things in this cave that we don't really understand the meaning of until later games. And again, it's hard to say if that was intentional or not. I'd like to think it was partially intentional, but it's hard. It really is almost impossible to say just how much they meant to do all this stuff. And you don't have to adjust this at all. You just slide it right in. And those symbols above the door, symbols on the door, it's really just to give you clues as to what to do for this puzzle. I don't think they have any other meaning. This OZ symbol seems to come up a lot, and I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. Okay, let's open this back up, shall we? I have a feeling we're going to be running into some bad guys in here. Maybe not. Oh, there you are. Okay. So, let's go ahead and Activate this. Come on. There we go. Oh yeah, I've got magic. I should start using it. I don't want to be without a weapon, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit. You cheated yourself. Sad part is you don't even know the difference. Hey man, if it's in the game, it's in the game. I'm gonna be dating this video with that timely reference. This is handy. Now watch me lose my Soul Reaver immediately as soon as I see another bad guy. No bad guys, okay. The music kind of sounds like footsteps, though. That's... Lock that in place. And lock that in place. I like to imagine that guy was standing at that door trying to figure out how to open it. He's been in here for hundreds, thousands of years, maybe 1,000 years, just trying to figure out how to get this door open. And then it just opened one day and he's like, huh? Immediately gets combusted. Alright, let's solve this puzzle, shall we? I think I got a pretty good idea of how to solve it. You really got to make your circle really tight around the object you're trying to constrict. Otherwise, it doesn't like it. Nope, no, wrong way. Oh, jeez. Sort of like the the spin attack in Ocarina of Time. It was so hard to pull off when you really wanted to do it. I'm sure there are people out there who can do it every time, but I always had a little trouble. Okay. So what this did was open up that first chamber we were in. That was a lot of hubbub just to open up that door. The Oracle clearly wants to make sure that anybody who comes into his chambers is worthy of such a endeavor, worthy of getting his knowledge. Yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that every time I run into an enemy. Okay, so let's learn a little bit more about Mobius.
The Oracle's Cave, where Kain's first fateful meeting with Mobius occurred. Mobius played the role of a doddering soothsayer, stirring his pot of visions while dispensing enigmatic predictions to gullible visitors. Underneath the facade was Mobius the Time Streamer, sorcerer of the Circle of Nine, a ruthless manipulator with the power to bend time. Since his murder at Kain's hands centuries ago, these caves have stood vacant, though, like Mobius himself, they are rumored to be only a facade for a much larger, more elaborate complex. I sensed that Kain was here, and at that moment, I would have plumbed the depths of hell to find him.
All right, so we just learned about Mobius pretending to be an oracle, which if you actually have the ability to travel and view different parts, basically if you have the ability to travel in time and view different parts of time, different eras, that'd be a pretty sweet gig, especially if you could attract powerful people to you to ask you for advice and give them advice that will cause time and history to kind of go in the way that you want it to. So being somebody who can see through time, being an oracle is probably a pretty sweet gig. So yeah, and this thing here is lovingly created after an object. It's pretty much from the cutscene where you meet the Oracle, who turns out to be Mobius. And they've lovingly recreated this, and it's really cool. I like it. It's fun to see familiar things. So let's get down deep into this inverted clockwork.
This, I deduced, must be the man himself, the Time Streamer, Mobius. He seemed not at all the impressive figure I had imagined from Kain's boasted exploits. And yet, even this cold image radiated a certain undeniable power.
All right, there's the man himself, Mobius, with his staff. And he's going to become a lot more important in future games. But for now, we just have to know him as the guy who built all this stuff. Let's, before we start flipping switches, let's just see what's down this way. Interesting. Doesn't seem like there's much we can do here yet. We got just a whole lot of nothing, so let's go back up and see if we can turn that nothing into something. So it looks like we've got some sort of light source moving when we move these clock hands. Let's see if we can find another disc. Looks like there's one on either side. So we just got to make sure it is either 12:30 or 6 o'clock. maybe it matters, but let's go with 6 o'clock. All right, we got a nice beam of light going down for us, and that opened up. I think I'm gonna take a shortcut though. Whee! One more shortcut. Okay. So we're back to unusual symbols here. This symbol here eventually became associated with the Seraphan. I don't know if it was intended to be the Seraphan. These symbols may be specific eras of time in Nosgoth. And perhaps this era is the era that Mobius is from, and that's why there's so many of this type of symbol. Perhaps that represents this era. It's hard to say. But looks like we need to make this light purple. How do we make purple? Well, we all learned in school. That turned it green. Speaking of Ocarina of Time, this is a very Ocarina of Time style puzzle. This one needs to be blue, so let's turn it to blue. No? It's not, maybe the, what's going on here? Maybe you have to do it in order. Alright, it appears that way. Interesting. So that was the Seraphan symbol. This is the next symbol. So, I mean, I'm just guessing here. I don't know for sure, but I do think that, you know, maybe that was the time period that Kain refused the sacrifice. That was the time of the Seraphan. And then this is the time that we're in. That's my guess. Okay, let's try turning it the other way. All right. Got this thing fired up. Let's move on to the next challenge. Wow, this place is pretty wacky. Architecture's all wavy like I'm in the spirit realm. Wonder if that's a glitch or if that was intentional. Either way, kind of makes you think about how old this place must be. Like the ground itself is shifting around it. More clocks. All right. So, this is very unusual that these symbols are Kain vampiric clan symbols. You see Kain at the top there. I believe that is Zephod and Melchiah. So these are their clan symbols. Actually, that may be Terrell and Melchiah, which Terrell isn't in this game. So it looks like we have to make these line up with the correct symbol. So gotta make this one line up with red. You can see the big hand there. And given that Mobius built this place, I keep wanting to say Mortanius, but that's not right. He would have known about this future, basically, that Kain was going to create. And it really is hard to say whether he planned for this future or not. Honestly, even though I've played the games, it's nearly impossible to say what whose plans, whose machinations are being accomplished and whatnot. We may never know. Let's see, one last one, and it's way over here. This one shouldn't take too long. What? Okay, let's try going this way then. That's better. One more. But clearly, if Kain is coming in here, maybe he left this for you, but I choose to believe that that Mobius created all of these machines, and he knew about what would happen in the future and all that. But, you know, Kain's been down here. That's one thing that's very clear. And one thing we're going to find out is that he's been able to see things that will happen, which makes our being thrown into the abyss. Maybe he knew he would have to do that, or maybe he saw what would happen if he didn't do that. And then also, as I talked about earlier, Kain didn't develop. He didn't turn into one of these mutant monsters like your other vampire brothers, like Melchiah and you know, all these other guys that just turned into these big hulking brutes. So my theory, and you know, it's hard to say if I'm right, is that when he threw you into the abyss, he maybe gave some last orders to his, you know, lieutenants, and then took care of some last minute business, and then jumped in the time stream to the moment where you and he face off, to the moment that you come out of the abyss, I would say, and waited for you in the pillar chamber till although he does, I believe Rahab does mention that he talked to Kain, so maybe Kain visited his sons just to see how they were doing. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought. I do think that Kain definitely took the shortcut here. He didn't go the long way because he knew what was going to happen. How do we get over there? Gimme them yummy souls, and gimme some more magic so I don't run out. Alright. Going into a nice dark chamber here. Man, I wish I had something to kill this guy with. Any weapons around? Anything at all? There we go. So that guy's dead. Got some machines we gotta get going here. Looks like these machines are very, very old. Oh, I feel dizzy. Alright. So we gotta get over here to this thing. Alright. And we got a ladder to get out of here if we need it. Not sure what that's gonna do, but we'll find out. Won't we? Nope, there's another one. Great. There's an enemy down there. I'm running low on juice. Okay. Now that we're done with that guy. Now, symbols like this kind of look like constellations to me. Not sure if that's what they're supposed to be, but constellations definitely have a lot to do with time. So it would make sense that Mobius would be interested in constellations. Right. And that should be it. Okay. I think we're getting down to the last bit here. We're gonna see some interesting stuff coming up. So let's press on. Oh. We got another puzzle to solve. We're back to these symbols, which I think represent different ages of Nosgoth. Go back some magic. Okay. Alright, so we clearly have to match it with the symbols that were over there. I already kind of know what these symbols look like. Already shaping up to be probably the longest episode in this series. I didn't realize there was so much in this chamber to do. I'm glad I didn't try to go back and get some of that other stuff. All right. Whee! All right. Looks like we've opened this all up. There's no going back now. Okay. This is it. We're coming up on the end. Here we go.
My arrival in this miserable age. What trickery is this?
It is no illusion, Raziel, but a glimpse into the currents of time itself.
So, like I said before, we are, Kain clearly came in here and was able to see different parts of history. And so he knew what was coming. And since he knows what's coming, you can probably guess how this is going to go down.
These apparitions torment me. Has this all been foretold?
You saw that was a very important moment, the breaking of the Soul Reaver. And it shattered as soon as it touched Raziel. Kind of makes you think, why would it shatter as soon as it touched Raziel? Now we see another angelic figure, which becomes more important in later games. The ancient vampires were angelic looking. But we won't learn about that until the next game.
Impossible. This must be one of Kain's deceptions.
I don't understand why he says that right there, because he clearly remembers that happening. So why would he think it was a deception? It's just kind of weird. This place twists and turns too much. I hope I'm not going the wrong way.
My mind reels with conflict. Does Kain await me moments from now? Or in some century yet to come?
So that scene was originally planned for later on in the game, because after what we're about to do, there was more to the game. You were going to face off against Turel, and then eventually take down Kain. And then you were going to go to the top of the Silenced Cathedral, and you were going to open up all the pipe organs and kill all the vampires in the world, thus making the world better, healing the world, basically. That was the original plan for this game, but unfortunately they ran out of time, and you're going to start seeing some stuff from that original plan for the game, but it had to be put in to games down the road, and in fact most of them happened in the past. So that meeting right there, it's hard to say when exactly that meeting is in Legacy of Kain, in the Legacy of Kain series, whether that's Soul Reaver 2 most likely, or in Defiance, which the symbol on the floor was Kain's. It's hard to say, but yeah, like I said, it's really hard to say because their original plans got kind of scrapped. So this isn't the first time that a Legacy of Kain. This is only the second Legacy of Kain game, and they have had stuff like that in other games where they planned something for the future and then it didn't really pan out the way they wanted it to. So you end up seeing stuff in that game as well that that's supposed to be predicting the future, but it doesn't. Not really. So we're going to move on and see the next one, which may shock some of you.
This cannot be. What madness does this scene portend? Kain must think me credulous to suffer these lies.
So clearly at some point we are going to be using our Soul Reaver to kill Ariel. The original plan was that you would kill Ariel to power up your Soul Reaver so you're powerful enough to take on Kain finally. But in the actual narrative, it's much more complicated than that. So maybe when we get to Legacy of Kain Defiance, we can learn more about that.
Is this phantasm a conjuration of my mind, or an echo of future events?
So again, that was the original, it was a shot of the original ending of this game with you standing on the top of the Silence Cathedral with a very unusual looking Soul Reaver. Again, it's hard to say if that's showing something that they would have worked into a future game. I don't think you ever get a Soul Reaver that quite looks like that one at any point. It does kind of resemble the Dark Reaver that you get in later games, but not quite. So, and the original plan was that that's what happens to your Soul Reaver after you defeat Kain. And in fact, you can actually get those two Reavers. You can access those two Soul Reavers by going into the either using a Game Shark, or there are codes that you can just input in the pause menu, or I believe it's this menu, and you put in codes and it will change your Reaver to be the Dark Reaver or the Aerial Reaver, or I believe they call it Aerial Reaver and Kain Reaver. But this episode's getting a little long, so maybe we'll come back to that some other time, play around with the codes in this game. For now, it's time to meet our maker. Literally. I think there's a... maybe not. Yep. Let's go ahead and activate this last chamber just so we can say we got all those. I've got chills. I've got chills. I know what's coming. Okay, so we're about to walk through this door. Now, this door here looks very much like the Hilden, which we will learn about in future games, but for now, it was probably just put there to look cool. It also does bear a striking resemblance to Mobius, which may be who it's supposed to be, but it also does kind of look like a Hilden. So, again...
At last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers?
Did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss?
No. I had faith in you. In your ability to hate. In your self-righteous indignation.
Lies. You cannot have foreseen all of this.
Eternity is relentless, Raziel. When I first stole into this chamber centuries ago, I did not fathom the true power of knowledge. To know the future, Raziel. To see its paths and streams tracing out into the infinite. As a man, I could never have contained such forbidden truths. But each of us is so much more than we once were. Gazing out across the plains of possibility, do you not feel with all your soul how we have become like gods? And as such, are we not indivisible? As long as a single one of us stands, we are legion.
That is why, when I must sacrifice my children to the void, I can do so with a clear heart.
Very poetic, Kain. But in the end, you offer no more than a convenient rationalization for your crimes.
These chambers offer insight for those patient enough to look. In your haste to find me, perhaps you have not gazed deeply enough. Our futures are predestined. Mobius foretold mine a millennium ago. We each play out the parts fate has written for us. We are compelled ineluctably down preordained paths. Free will is an illusion.
I have been to the tomb of Seraphan, Kain. Your dirty secret is exposed. How could you transform a Seraphan priest into a vampire?
How could I not? One must keep his friends close, Raziel, and his enemies even closer. Can you grasp the absurd beauty of the paradox? We are the same. Seraphan and vampire. With our holy wars, our obsession with Nosgoth's domination, who better to serve me than those whose passion transcends all notions of good and evil?
I will not applaud your clever blasphemy. The Seraphan were saviors, defending Nosgoth from the corruption that we represent. My eyes are opened, Kain. I find no nobility in the unlife you rudely forced on my unwilling corpse.
You may have uncovered your past, but you know nothing of it. You think the Seraphan were noble? Altruistic? Don't be simple. Their agenda was the same as ours.
You are lost in a maze of moral relativism, Kain. These apparitions and portents. What game are you playing now?
Destiny is a game, is it not? And now, you await my latest move.
So, this final battle is kind of lame. As long as you stay on this spot, you are constantly being healed. And you just kind of have to run out and hit Kain. You have to run out and hit him before he... There we go. So, yeah, just like the first battle with Kain, you just have to kind of hit him 3 times, which, given how creative some of these other boss battles were, it's kind of a shame, really. Got him. All right, one more hit. There we go.
You nearly had me, Raziel. But this is not where or how it ends. Fate promises more twists before this drama unfolds completely.
Be warned, Raziel. Once you cross this threshold, you are beyond my influence.
Raziel, Redeemer and Destroyer, Pawn and Messiah. Welcome, time-span soul. Welcome to your destiny. Where time is but a loop, a loose stitch in the universal cloth, a streamer might seize upon a chance, a fatal slip, and plunge the fate of planets into chaos.
Probably the most infamous to be continued in video game history. With other games at the time having annual updates, Tomb Raider had a game every year. Spyro had a game every year. Who else? We did Tomb Raider, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. Developers were putting out annual games, so having this to be continued wasn't a bad idea. But unfortunately, this game just came out at a time when they were in between console generations. So instead of it coming out next year, it ended up coming out, I believe, like 2 or 3 years later. So we didn't get to find out what happened to Raziel for 3 more years with Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 2. And it was very disappointing to wait all that time. Originally, it was going to be a Dreamcast exclusive. They moved it to PlayStation 2 after Dreamcast kind of shut down. So they had to scrap a bunch of stuff and rework a bunch of stuff, cut a bunch of stuff out, just like they did with this game. It's just kind of it's just sort of the ongoing narrative of this series that they try to do something and then they have to cut a bunch of stuff out just to get a game out there. But it was an awesome game series while it lasted, and I hope we get more of this someday. I really do. I hope they do something that sort of reintroduces people to this world, because I don't really need to see more Raziel. I don't really need to see more Kain. It'd be nice to say like all of this stuff is canon though, and that we just kind of discover it through a new character. Which is apparently what one of the canceled games, Legacy of Kain Dark Sun, was going to be about. But unfortunately, that didn't pan out. That didn't come out. It's in spite of that disappointing to be continued ending. I really enjoy this game a lot. There was a time when I was playing it once a year, and I just love it. So I hope Crystal Dynamics makes another one of these someday. I really do. And speaking of special thanks, I just want to thank everybody who watched this. Thanks to my new subscribers. I just want to let you guys know that I may be taking a little bit of time off just to sort of build up a backlog of new videos. I'm going to start painting again since the weather cleared up. We had an extended winter because that groundhog was lying to us. So yeah, I'm going to start painting again. I'm going to get a backlog of videos going, maybe just take a little break, and I'll be back. But again, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to everybody who made this game. You guys are awesome. Amy Hennig deserves better than what EA is doing to her. EA did her dirty. What are you doing, EA? Come on now. I don't know if I will do more of these. Let me know if you want me to. you know, I could probably sit down and play the second Legacy of Kain game in like 3 sittings, because it's not that hard. Like I said, they cut a lot out of that game. Defiance would probably take a little bit longer. Blood Omen 2, which I like, but is not the best game in the series by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't think I would ever do Blood Omen 1, just because I think that game would be very boring to watch, quite frankly. And of course the audio in it, Kain basically screams Ve Victus every 3 lines. Every time you kill an enemy, he screams Ve Victus, so it's kind of annoying. And also you hear, "Help me, kind sir," a lot. But it's still a fun game. You should definitely check it out if you can find a copy of it. So, alright then. Again, thank you so much for watching this series. I'm so glad you can join me, and we could play this together. So, you know, just keep reaving them souls, internet friend. Keep dreaming them dreams. If I can do this, you can do it. Have a good one.